Hey, what's going on YouTube? Anaris here with another exciting StarCraft 2 broadcast. With me today are our two players, EG.IdrA of Team Evil Geniuses, spawning up in the top right position as the Red Zerg, facing off against his blue Terran opponent, ePParamedico. Now, Paramedico is not somebody that I know a whole lot of information about. I did look him up on the Battle.net profile system, and I found that he is currently ranked 51st on the North American Grandmaster League. So that's fairly impressive. I'm sure we'll have a good matchup today, as I'm thinking this was from the ladder, just straight up North American ladder. I looked on the replay site where I got this from, sc2rep.com, and I didn't see any information that would indicate if it was from a tournament in particular or what, so we're just going to go with standard ladder play. As such, I wouldn't expect to see too much in the way of crazy builds here, as Paramedico opening up with a depot at the top of his ramp. This is fairly standard. What we're going to be watching from him to get an indication of what he's building is if he gets gas, or if he decides to drop a second barracks, send out an SCV shortly after he starts his first. And that'll give us an idea if he's going to put 2 racks pressure, 1 racks expand, or Hellion expand. Likewise, EG.IdrA up here, we see he's already sitting at 14 supply. The first thing we're going to notice is that he has not dropped his gas yet, and he's still floating at almost 200 minerals. So right now, at this point, he could be saving up for a pool, which I don't think we're going to have. More likely, he is going to be just straight up saving for an expansion. Now, here on Xel'Naga Caverns, this is kind of a risky move. There's only 2 places for the bases to be, so opponents don't have to worry, or they can't expand under the rule of security through obscurity. So the Terran player is going to be able to come up here and spot this fairly early. However, notice how he's just now sending out this SCV. That is going to be the scout that pretty much just checks this out. Now the question is he going to try to pressure it with a bunker placed around here, or is he just going to leave it alone? Now EG.IdrA, very smart. He did bring an Overlord over here. So he's going to be able to spot this SCV as it does make its way past the high yield expansion. And of course, with his spawning pool going down about 40% complete, he's going to be able to get out some Zerglings in time to deal with it. But for now, I think the Paramedico knows, okay, this expansion's already about 2/3 complete. Probably not going to be able to do a whole lot to it. So I'm just going to relegate this SCV to a scouting duty and let it be on its way. Now up here, paying attention back down to Paramedico's base, we see the factories going down. Again, we look and see he's still continuing to mine the gas. And this is pretty much just in anticipation of a reactor here at the barracks. This is very common when you do that style of Hellion play. If you have, whoa, that was very interesting Terran music remix. If you have the factory switching with the barracks, and you want to be doing a pressure to that expansion early, you're going to want to get out a few extra Hellions, and of course this reactor is going to do exactly that. Again, this is just very common, typical play that we're seeing here from Paramedico. A bunker has gone down, however, I would not expect it to really finish, much less actually get any Marines in it, as again, already some drones here, a few Zerglings. We do have 1 Marine starting to work on this Overlord, but the Zerglings are well incapable of defending against this. Yep, sure enough, there goes 1 Marine right there. Second Marine is going to get popped off as well. Bunker was canceled once he realized those Marines were not going to get up there. As the reactor completes, we're going to start to see a couple of Hellions come in. And this is where we have the expansion dropping down. Again, Paramedico playing very predictable-like. But, I mean, it's a very strong build. Don't get me wrong. Don't mistake predictability for strength here. It is going to be able to do a lot of damage against EG.IdrA's build. You see right now that EG.IdrA does have 1 spine crawler going down and is scouting his opponent's base. So he spots, okay, there's a factory, there's a reactor, going to pretty much anticipate those Hellions making their way to my base soon. You see how in response he has dropped a 2nd spine crawler. And also over here he's continuing to use his larva for inject instead of working on closing the gap for the creep timbers there. On Xel'Naga Caverns, the creep gets pretty close to the point where you don't have to worry too much about that, as if you want, and I mention this because if the Hellions decide to run up here, you know, the Queens can obviously react very quickly and position themselves to protect the main base. Second Queen has now arrived now at the natural expansion, and here we're going to see that first creep tumor go down, and this is a good spot for it. Because, we'll talk about actually that in just one brief second here, I want to watch these Hellions and see if they're able to pop off the creep tumor. No, they're not. They're pretty much just going to be stuck doing light damage to those Queens. But anyways, having this creep tumor here is very important because you want the creep to be able to spread all the way around here so that way your Zerglings can catch these Hellions, and the entire time that these Hellions are attacking, they will be on the creep. So we see Zerg up here just continuing on with his pretty standard macro play. And down here, Paramedico building up more Hellions as well. He's also got a couple Marauders. Now, that's actually a very interesting thing to make at this point. things that he could be doing with that, he could actually decide to bring those Marauders up and try to pick off these Spine Crawlers. Obviously, Marauders do 20 damage base without upgrades to armored units and structures such as this. And these Hellions aren't really going to have a way of dealing with that. So he could decide to just go for a very strong pressure attack with that. Or, you know, he could also just use these down here for defense as well. You know, against light Zergling harass, Marauders can be effective, again, simply just not because they do a lot of damage, but because they take a lot of time to kill. Now, Zerglings in any sort of great numbers will just be able to out DPS them no problem, but I don't think at this point this is going to be a huge issue for him. So a couple of light defensive units going to be guarding this expansion. As you see, the command center is now getting saturated. Continued Hellion harassment up here at the natural expansion, forcing EG.IdrA to continue to make spine crawlers. You see he's also dedicating a lot of larvae to Zerglings. We see here's a Baneling nest on the way. I like the positioning of that. This is going to force the Hellions to basically have to go a little bit farther around when they want to get up here. Also make it a little bit easier to defend with Queens. So there goes a Creep Tumor as well as several Zerglings getting vision of that high ground. He now knows that Baneling nest is on the way. He's actually going to come up here. Oh, here we go, folks. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Several Marauders coming up and just sniping off these Spine Crawlers one by one. And he's actually doing a pretty good job absorbing the damage as well. EG.IdrA being forced to just hang back with his Zerglings. Simply does not have the firepower to deal with this. He is going to try to engage now and force these Hellions back away from the base. Since he's fighting on the creep, with that speed upgrade, rather, he is able to come in and get a surround rather quickly on the Hellions, restricting their movement, forcing them back out of range, trying to basically get up more Spine Crawlers here. Not able to do that. Can EG.IdrA actually hold on to this? It looks like he will be able to. Paramedico getting mopped up there. Finally, the Zerglings. And again, this gets back to the whole creep extending out just a little bit farther. Makes it that much easier for EG.IdrA to maneuver around and outposition the Hellions. So let's actually look at the resources lost, any workers so far. We see 1-to-1, 24-to-20, and as far as actual resources, 1206 to 2000. Here comes a pretty strong counterattack against the Terran, but with all these Hellions here, you see with the Zerglings being in such a line, it would be pretty difficult to actually do a lot of damage and get a surround on those Hellions without suffering extremely heavy casualties. So EG.IdrA opting for a Spire. We see he's also dropping his third base right now. The rocks are still intact. He may decide to break those at some point here if the Hellions actually come down there and scout that out. He wants to be able to respond very quickly. And at this point, his expansion is quite vulnerable. I do want to point that out. But once the mutas are on the field, it's going to be a lot easier for the Zerg player to actually defend that expansion against the light harassment that Paramedico has so far shown he does indeed favor. And now pressing forward, I want to point one thing out here. We don't actually have any siege tanks just yet. Yes, he is working on siege tech, and he has one on the way, but he is working on getting some medevacs up and continuing on with very heavy focus on Marines. This is a very typical transition for against a Zerg player. Of course, these Marines do have stem, they do have combat shields, they're going to be extremely effective, but Marine siege tank pressure is something that, again, is pretty much to be expected. I don't think any of this is going to be a surprise to EG.IdrA. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. He wants to get rid of those rocks because right now he is very much at a disadvantage for defending this expansion. Now, Terran, of course, with these Hellions, they don't do a lot of extra damage to those hatcheries. As a matter of fact, they don't do any. I think it's 8 base, 14 against light units. I'm just watching here, got completely sidetracked watching those mutas. I was waiting to see if those Hellions are actually going to try to just nut up and go straight through in the natural and make a beeline for Zerglings or whatever they can find. Oh, but no, falling back to the Marines, going to be able to pop off a couple mutas. I think we saw just one of them go down there as the mouth just kind of bouncing around. If that's not disgusting, I don't know what is. But now that those rocks have been destroyed, you see those drones are going to be able to have safe passage to the third. Of course, if he had not knocked out those rocks, they would have had to go midfield, and that would have left it quite vulnerable to a Hellion intercept. But now we see Weapons 1 is on the way. Weapons 1 also for EG.IdrA. And those mutas come up here, start to work on the reactor. The reason he attacked this and not like the mineral line is he really wants to limit the Marine production. Moving into the later stages of the game, those Marines are going to be the bane of EG.IdRA's existence. No pun intended for Banelings, but I mean it. Those Marines are going to be able to do so much damage. And now here we go, EG.IdrA actually spotting an opportunity to pop off a couple extra Hellions. Can he get one more shot in and have it bounce over? Yep, 2 kills right there, almost nailing a third, and is forced to retreat. He does have to guard this third expansion, however, as Paramedico's base is looking pretty darn good. Let's actually take a look here. We do have Thors potentially on the way, and as far as income is concerned, 69 to 59 in favor of EG.IdrA. Obviously mining that extra 2 gas there as well, and continuing to spread creep just want to make it a little bit easier to run around there. I actually would be surprised if he started spreading it there as well, but he is going to want to get this high yield as soon as possible. Because, again, the Terran is going to be able to move out with a very strong position, take the high-yield expansion. You see, he's already cleared the rocks right there. He could also take that, but he hasn't destroyed the rocks, and I really would not be surprised if he opts just straight up for that high yield. If the Terran player takes this high yield, it's such a fantastic position for him, as he is able to defend from several different lines of attack, and EG.IdrA moving forward now with this Muta spots this attack and realizes his expansion is going to be coming under direct assault here very soon. Now, let's compare the units and see what can be done about this. A whole bunch of Zerglings. We see the Mutas coming in as well and engaging the Marines. That's, oh man, I'm sure that EG.IdrA is not too happy about having to do that, but you know, if the Zerglings had actually come in just a few seconds earlier, a lot of those Zerglings could have actually absorbed the attack. But now I want to pay point attention to over here where a drop is coming from Paramedico in the main base. All the while his expansion is continuing to be saturated down here. So again, very good timings on these attacks for Paramedico. He wanted to go on the offensive while he was expanding up here at the high yield, so that way he could buy time to drop some turrets, get some SCVs, and work on start getting this planetary fortress. Now, let's talk about this high yield expansion here. As this is what I was talking about earlier. Paramedico dropping this, he's going to be able to defend against attacks from here, attacks from here, and of course he's going to be able to have a good position to make sure Zerg does not try to run by this area as well. He could also extend up just a little bit and cover this Zelnaga watchtower, or he could do the same up here, but that'd be a little bit riskier. We see that Zerg obviously has creep extended up there. Now, will EG.IdrA be able to pop off this tank? There are a lot of Marines here as well as several medevacs. That's the really nice thing about Paramedico's position right now, is he's got a lot of anti-air, and he's got the ability to stay in this fight for a long time, having so many medevacs. He's going to be able to just stem, repeat, and that's something that Zerg players do from time to time. They'll try to force a Terran player to stem up their defense, and oh my god, a whole bunch of mutas coming in, I better use that. And then the medevacs, you know, drain, he'll have like maybe 2 or 3 medevacs, drain energy down. And oh, well, it didn't really get any kills, but oh hey, I drove that Zerg off. And then again, the Zerg will come in and attack, and oh, there's the stem again. And then all of a sudden you realize your medevacs are out of energy. So that style of play really isn't going to work too well here, but what could work is EG.IdrA running around with about 20 Zerglings or so, getting ready to loop back around into the natural expansion, where we see it is a orbital command, not a planetary, so it will be quite vulnerable to this type of attack. We're seeing him actually come in and work on the turrets as well, going into the SCV mineral line. And oh man, here comes EG.IdrA with a very strong response, moving directly into the main base. He's hoping to catch these Marines out of position. Will he be able to do it, though? A lot of these Zerglings are dying to the planetary fortress, and you see the Zerglings were taken out, leaving the Mutas exposed. EG.IdrA does not want to lose those. Being on 3.5 bases right now, just now getting his fourth saturated. He cannot afford to lose so much gas invested into his army right now. And we see that obviously he's working on taking his fifth base as well. This will certainly give him a very large boost in income. But as far as units lost is concerned, you see the resources are still neck and neck, and the actual resource, the actual workers and units lost, 3 to 25. So again, both players doing a very good job here. EG.IdrA currently 2-1, as we see the Mutas just starting to poke their way in here. Paramedico realizes what's going on, and EG.IdrA doesn't really commit. We have a massive engagement here. Oh wow, EG.IdrA doing such huge damage, catching these Marines, and here comes the Mutalist to mop up as well. Even a couple Banelings getting in there, leaving Paramedico quite vulnerable. Is he actually going to be able to follow this up with anything right now? He's got to rebuild a lot of his forces there. You see he's bringing in 26 Zerglings. The biggest thing right now is if Paramedico can hold on to this high yield expansion and pretty much just keep it there for the next 30 seconds or so. And it looks like EG.IdrA is going to be able, or is going to just fall back and wait for his forces to rebuild. Again, we see he's 177 to 113. He feels like he's in a far superior position right now. And if you look at it, I mean, I think I would feel like that too. He's got this expansion just popped over here. He has his own high yield. He's got this third base relatively untouched, and he has this one claimed as well. So what can the Terran player do at this point? Well, at this point he can continue to focus on the drops, defending against this harassment. Look at this Mutas, so many Mutas here, as well as a few Banelings. This is going to be able to mop up the Marines very easily. We do have the Terran player, Paramedico, working on starting to destroy this set of rocks. And for a second there I thought I saw a drop, but no, that was actually just a drone morphing into an extractor. And here come the Mutalists working on the turrets. You see actually, once again, going to be trying to deny the Marine production. Does he actually know that there could be Thors on the way? That's going to be a huge question right now. Yeah, he knows that's there. He knows that army is there. All right, so this Overlord spots this expansion as ePParamedico continues to work on taking out the barracks. This is going to leave Paramedico in such a weird position. Uh-oh, ePParamedico's moving in for the kill now. Zergling's going to be engaging. Got so many Marines. You see the Marines are actually going to do a lot of damage to the Mutas. The Mutas are split up right now, and those Thors actually got a couple good shots. Those Mutas were nice and bunched up. Paramedico, will he be able to hold, man? This is tense. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little curious as to who's going to win this. 161 to 102. EG.IdrA still feels like he has just a commanding lead right now. Economy-wise, mineral line, you see he also sent a bunch of Zerglings in and mopped up the SCV line. Looking at the income, 76 to 52, so Terran definitely hurting in that regard. You see EG.IdrA also still sitting on 1,000 minerals, 300 gas. Moving forward into the later stages of the game, we are going to see a hive here very soon, as he is going to continue with this Mutalisk harassment. Terran looks like he's going to try to just push up and go for broke, man. EG.IdrA forced to bring back his drones off of the high-yield expansion, losing a lot of mining time there. But the trade-off is he is able to lock down this expansion and keep the Terran from getting basically any more income. Will the Zerglings be able to keep this attack from going? Oh, nope. Terran falling back to the siege tanks, doing a lot of splash damage there. You see several banelings get taken out. And EG.IdrA mopping up, man. This could turn into just a full-on base race, ladies and gentlemen. EG.IdrA, I think, is in a great position. He's got mobility. He's knocked out all the defenses. He's got the numbers. But the Terran player down here has got a lot of Marines. If he chooses to engage those Mutalisks, he could come out on top. And, of course, not a lot in the way of forces choosing to engage and defend that expansion. EG.IdrA is just sacrificing that, knowing that if he's able to cut off the income for the Terran player, he is going to just be in a fantastic position of his own. He knows having this expansion, he will be able to likely recover in a far better position than Paramedico. Working on knocking out this factory, he wants to take out the Thor production and continuing on denying the Marines. We see Paramedico now choosing to go and try to defend his base. Will he be able to hold on? Look at the income right now, folks. It is actually neck and neck despite the workers. I mean, really, this is EG.IdrA's only base right now. It is so freaking saturated with 3 pages worth of drones right now mining on that one base. So he'll probably want to try to take this again, or at least this at some point here in the near future, as both armies look to fall back and try to reclaim a little bit of land. We see EG.IdrA again with the commanding 198 over 184 compared to 125 to 150. Once again, expansion denied as EG.IdrA moves forward. We see Paramedico actually moving out. Could he try to hold on to this natural, or is he just going to go for broke? It looks like he's actually going to move in to try to defend his natural again. EG.IdrA realizes, you know what, man, I cannot engage that force. That is just enough Marines and medevacs to stop my Mutalisk with stem. We also see 3-3. They are just going to rip through those Mutas, which right now are 0-2. So they will die just super quick. Uh-oh. EG.IdrA looks like he's going to try to engage the Marines. Looks like, oh my god, Paramedico falling back using the terrain to his advantage. A lot of Zerglings just get annihilated while moving around. Banelings as well. We're going to see EG.IdrA just, oh my god. He lost so much in that attack. Both players running the bottom of the barrel, and now we're going to have Paramedico move out. Could he actually make a comeback? If EG.IdrA loses a bunch more Mutas, then he could actually do it. EG.IdrA has got to do something about these Mutas, as they're just now moving forward, looking to try to reclaim this territory that he gained in the mid to late stage of the match. Now EG.IdrA trying to take out these medevacs, reducing the Marines' effectiveness a little bit each time. He has to watch out, though. He cannot lose a whole bunch of Mutalisks on his own. He does have a couple Queens up here, which he can transfuse in a pinch, but we're seeing a lot of Zerglings actually run to their death right now, not really doing any damage whatsoever. The Mutalisk coming in just a little bit too late. There's another stem. Oh my god, this could be it, ladies and gentlemen. The Marines holding their own. The medevacs so low on energy. We could actually see this is getting down to the wire. Oh my god. Oh my god. Paramedico does it. He does it. He holds the line. And Inspire. Oh, wow. Well, cue the EG.IdrA rage, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot believe that is so close. That was so close, folks. My heart is racing right now. I am speechless. Oh. EG.IdrA getting knocked out at the 11th and a half hour by the Marines just running forward. If those Zerglings had charged in just 2 seconds later, it could have been a different story. But no, the Marines managed to mop up the majority of those threatening ground forces just in time. And now here's EG.IdrA's last hope. Can these Banelings get in here and do the damage that he needs to be done? Oh my god, the Marines are cutting back, and it looks like the Banelings are actually gonna not live. No, the Terran player is able to hold on. We're getting ready to approach the 30-minute mark, ladies and gentlemen. EG.IdrA does not have a lot that he can really do with this. He has a couple queens. Looking at the units tab right now, 12 Zerglings, 2 queens, and 75 drones that are largely idle down here. See so many overlapping mineral paths there as the EG.IdrA tries to connect. Oh, last second pickup by Paramedico. Tried to come back down here to the defensive position of the siege tank. These medevacs, they're so low on energy. Will he be able to hold this ground for very long? You see, as far as mining is concerned, Terran has 19 minerals, 24, just barely any minerals per minute, 40. Look at that, 40 minerals per minute. Still working very heavily on the gas. Oh, Zergling's coming down EG.IdrA for a counterattack. He knocked out the one remaining siege tank. Can he mop up the Marines here? Will the Paramedico pick these up? The Queen's coming down as well. No, the Marines are going to live, folks. The Marines are going to live. The last of EG.IdRA's forces gets taken out right there. Nope, there they go. Now they're taken out. 14 Zerglings are in the way. This game is just so intense right now, folks. One Spine Crawler should be able to hold off a good bit of this, and EG.IdrA may be forced to use some of these drones in defense. Here comes the Zerglings just marching 2 by 2 into the Marines' line of fire. All these drones now forced to run away. The last remaining mining expansion for EG.IdrA of Team Evil Geniuses is going to be falling to Paramedico. Sure enough, there it goes. This could be the final attack. I know I've said that a couple times before, folks, but here comes the drones now choosing to go directly into the Marines. He knows going uphill, this battle is just not going to end well for him. And there's the FU from EG, and the Iconic has left the game. Oh man, guys, girls, I have to tell you, that was a thrilling ride. Thank you for being a part of it here. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you enjoyed the match, be sure to thumbs up the video. It helps me out a ton. And if you want to be notified of new games, new awesomeness like this, be sure to subscribe to my channel as well. You'll find that in a pop-up link at the end of the video. Or you can just go to my channel directly. Either way, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. My heart is still pounding. I think I just need to sit back and let that settle in.